The U.S. Supreme Court ruled late Thursday that Alabama can proceed with the execution of Tommy Arthur, an inmate once nicknamed the Houdini of death row after having 7 prior execution dates postponed. Arthur, 75, was convicted in the 1982 murder-for-hire slaying of Troy Wicker. Arthur and APO's lawyers made multiple last-ditch appeals, both in and out of court, seeking to halt the execution originally scheduled for 6 p.m. CDT. The U.S. Supreme Court issued a temporary to consider Arthur and APO's request. Justices, shortly before 11 p.m., paved the way for the execution to proceed. Justice Sonia Sotomayor criticized the decision in a dissent. Arthur and APO's lawyers argued that Alabama plans to use an ineffective sedative, and Arthur will feel the chemical equivalent of dissent from being burned at the stake. In a separate filing, they argued that his legal team should have access to a telephone in the witness room in the case the execution goes awry. Speaking by telephone Monday from the South Alabama prison, Arthur maintained his innocence but acknowledged his hopes of gaining an 8th reprieve are diminishing. I and APO's am terrified, but Thre and APO's nothing I can do. I and APO's got hope in my legal team Arthur told the Associated Press. Arthur prior execution date reprieves largely based on repeated challenges to the humaneness of lethal injection frustrated victims and APO's advocates, WICKHR and APO's family, and the Alabama Attorney General and APO's office. Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall called Arthur and APO's case an egregious example of how a convicted murderer can manipulate the legal system to avoid justice. Arthur maintained his innocence as his legal team and asked the state and APO's governor to halt the execution to allow DNA testing on hairs found at the scene. Alabama Governor Kay Ivey denied the request, saying the matter had already been reviewed by juries and the courts. Neither a fingerprint nor a weapon nor any other physical evidence connects Thomas Arthur to the murder of Troy Wicker said Sue Honahan, Arthur and APO's lead lawyer. The sprawling case began February 1, 1982, when police responded to a call about a break-in and found riverboat engineer Troy Wicker slain in his bed in the North Alabama city of Muscle Shoals. Arthur was in a prison work release program at the time for the 1977 slaying of his sister-in-law, a crime he admits to committing. WICKHR and APO's wife Judy initially told police she came home and was raped by a black man who shot and killed her husband. She later changed her story and testified that she had discussed killing her husband with Arthur, who came to the house wearing an Afro-style wig and with his face painted with makeup, and shot her husband. He was convicted in 1983, but that conviction was overturned. While awaiting retrial, he escaped jail in 1986 by shooting a guard in the neck. A second conviction followed and also was overturned, but a third conviction stuck. Arthur asked jurors to give him the death penalty. The decision was strategic, he said, to open up more appellate review. The state set 7 execution dates for Arthur between 2001 and 2016. All were delayed as his legal team fought his sentence. And APO's Houdini said Jeanette Grantham, director of the Victims of Crime and Leniency. And he always finds a way to escape. The many delays have been painful for Troy WICKHR and APO's family, Grantham said. And if he does get executed, and I hope and pray, so people might not think it and APO's very good to pray for someone to die. But he is guilty. He killed more than one person Grantham said. In the stay request with the U.S. Supreme Court, Arthur and APO's lawyers pointed to a December execution in Alabama in which inmate Ronald Burt Smith coughed for the first 13 minutes of his execution and moved slightly after 2 consciousness tests. Arthur and APO's lawyers argued that showed Smith was awake during his execution. The state responded that there was no evidence Smith experienced pain.